Hello and welcome to Studio 415.
On today's show, you will see the fire department was called out to the animal lab room earlier this month.
You will hear from administration on why NACS does not have e-learning days yet and when they will start.
And you'll get to see how the wrestling team is doing so far as they try to make a deep run into the postseason.
All of that and more coming up next. Welcome to Studio 415. I'm Luke Relu. And I'm DEZMOND. Congratulations goes out to head coach John Gibson and the Carroll's girls swim and dive team for finishing third at IHSAA state finals this past weekend. Individually, junior Mallory Jackson became the state champion in the 100 backstroke while also setting a new school record. Jackson is the first swimming state champion in school history.
Maya Vanderhagen, Tegan Moon, Maya DeWitt, and Mallory Jackson earned 2 state runner-up awards in both the 400 freestyle relay as well as the 200 freestyle relay.
The girls' team was honored on Monday with the Walk of Champions around the school.
In other news, on Saturday, January 12th, there was a small mishap in the animal lab that led to the fire department being called to Carroll.
Studio 415 reporter Joe Hacker joins us in the studio with this story.
I sat down with Carroll's agriculture teachers to find out what happened in the animal lab and how they plan to stop it from happening again. In the late afternoon of January 12th, the animal lab caught smoke after a heat lamp was left on and unattended after school on Friday and into Saturday. The lamp eventually burned a hole in the counter that it was on in the animal lab. Luckily, there was no real fire at any point. However, the lab did fill with smoke from the burning of the counter. The smoke didn't set off any fire alarms or turn on the sprinklers in the animal lab, which only turn on once the plastic part of the detector gets hot enough and melts. Nonetheless, the Huntertown Fire Department was still brought in to clear the smoke and respond to the situation in the lab.
The sprinklers did not go off because it was not an actual fire, just the smoke. They were alerted because the fire alarm went off when the smoke went through the hallways and around the building.
Once the agriculture teachers, Mr. Alinsky and Mrs. Raker, arrived at the school, their primary focus was making sure that all the animals were safe. Once they decided that all the animals were in fact okay, they proceeded to move them to one of the other rooms in their department so that the animals would be away from some of the hazardous conditions that lingered in the animal lab.
We did move them. We moved them to a couple of our other rooms in our department. We did that because there was a smoky smell. It still had some of the haze in the room.
While Raker and Alinsky are excited that the animals were lucky and didn't sustain any lasting injuries, they know that more security measures need to be taken to ensure that something like this doesn't happen again.
So we're continuing to look at different options. There's some lamps out there that some other ag teachers around the area have kind of told us that might be useful. It's one of those things though that you're dealing with heat, you're dealing with something that involves some temperature, so there's a few risks involved.
While the hole in the counter remains, the animals are all back here in the lab and are still happy and healthy. For Studio 415, I'm Joe Hacker.
Between Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and other platforms, social media affects us all. Unfortunately, it doesn't always affect us in a positive way.
For some, it consumes hours of time per week. Studio 415 reporter Marcus Leach investigated whether social media is addicting in addition to the role it plays in our lives.
In the near future, our generation will have a hard time remembering a time without social media. It is no longer just a category of apps, but an important part of our society. We are more connected to one another than ever before, with the whole world at our fingertips. Despite this, it is optimistic to say that social media is fully beneficial. Since it is so important to our lives, it is bound to have some influence on the school day. We run around the school asking students about their social media use and how it affects them.
Social media, it's really easy to get in contact with all my friends just in group chats and all that.
I mean, I use Snapchat like all the time, so easily over like 100 times a day, I guess.
Whenever like you're like on like your phone, like time kind of like slips away. You think you're on there for like 5 minutes, which has been like 45 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
So I'll get sidetracked. I'll tell myself that I have to do homework, and then I'll get on my phone and stay on it for a couple hours.
And honestly, I feel like social media just kind of spreads negativity. But obviously, social media can be used as a positive media. But I mainly see it as a negative one.
High schoolers have various experiences with social media, with the main benefit being the ease of connecting and making plans with friends. A drawback they can all agree on is how it can consume more time than they would like it to, distracting from homework and other tasks. In fact, numerous statistics show that the average teenager spends over 2 hours per day on social media. Students likely lose sleep finishing homework after spending hours on their phone, in addition to their already busy schedule. We also had the chance to talk to Paige Klingenpeel, Carol's Student Assistance Program Counselor. While her focus is on other areas of students' lives, she also sees the great impact that social media can have.
We create a persona on there, and it becomes a digital relationship with a filtered personality. So it's not benefiting anyone because we're not being authentic to ourselves, nor is the relationship real in real life. So there's some complications there, but social media can be both good and bad.
While some may disagree that social media lacks the personal contact we all need, it's hard to deny that it is an easy way to get distracted.
As a social media addict myself, I'm not advocating for you to quit social media altogether, but it might be a good idea to take a break now and then. For Studio 415, I'm Marcus Leach. The internet at Carroll has been up and down, which has caused many complaints by both students and teachers.
To find out what's being done about it, Studio 415 reporter Jackson Miller sat down with the tech department director to hear their side of the story. Here is this report.
Carroll High School has had a tough history with the technology we've been provided through the last few years. Between the seemingly constant internet problems to what appears like a flawed repair process, students and teachers have had a lot of frustrations. Although throughout the last semester the school has had numerous issues with the tech, Adela Dickey, Director of Technology, looks at this as a tough semester, but she also talks about it as a big learning experience for the technology department and is hoping to do much better in the coming semester. An issue that was brought up to students was the lack of capability of their machines, seeing as they only scored 6% on the computer processing tests. But when talking to a student, it became clear that they were less concerned with the laptop's performance, but rather the internet speeds.
Like literally, it's almost on a weekly basis that the internet goes down and I can't do my homework in study hall because it's down. Everything's technology now, so if we're going to have technology, let's get good internet.
When issues with the internet were brought up to Miss Dickey, she had a lot to say.
Last school year, we were watching our bandwidth, what was going out to the internet, and we could see that we were getting close to the top of our capacity. So over the summer, we had basically doubled that capacity. We had a 1 gig link and we moved to a 2 gig link. So, but one of the things that we did fail to catch was that some of our other pieces internally still had that 1 gig limit.
With those parts ordered and now in place, it's hoped that the students will experience much better internet in the coming months. And as for the repair process speeds, a survey has shown that students in general are happy with the services provided, although the department still wants to improve. Looking forward, the tech department is excited for what's in store for Carroll. For Studio 415, I'm Jackson Miller.
Blinding stage lights, a screaming audience, and blaring music from the band. For the performers of Carroll show choirs, these are the sensations they work to experience all year.
This effort starts far before the school year even begins. Studio 415 reporter Emily VOIGT brings us the story.
Starting the first week of August, the Carroll show choirs begin meeting to learn and put together their shows for the school year. Carroll High School is home to 2 award-winning show choirs: Select Sound, the unisex group, and Minstrel Magic, the mixed group. The competition season doesn't begin until early January and usually lasts until April, but the work begins far before that. Throughout first and second semester, members of the show choirs attend 2 to 4 practices a week, ranging from 2 to 8 hours, where they rehearse choreography, vocals, facials, and more. But co-director Eric Smead is confident that if students are able to deal with the time commitment, the payoff is worth it.
Well, I would say you definitely have to be ready to put in a lot of time. But the reward from that is so great. You get this great group of friends, like immediately from day one, you'll have, I don't know, like 80 to 90 friends on the day one of meeting everybody.
This year, Select Sound has worked hard to tell a fairy tale that dates all the way back to 1835, Thumbelina. The story tells a girl the size of a thumb who eventually finds love with a fairy prince. Minstrel Magic is also telling an old tale this year, but this one is far more real. In a show titled New World, the performers in Minstrel convey the lives of 58 separatists who ultimately began America. Choir director Jill Duran enjoys and cherishes the process of creating and putting these shows together with the students.
And I love working with students and just kind of starting a whole process of bringing something like this before students, and that we kind of start together and then kind of mold it into something really great and artistic as we go along.
The show this year features 5 soloists: Maddie Carr, Harrison Hopkins, Asher Wiggy, Kaylee Haney, and Cam Gregory in Minstrel Magic, and Kaylee Haney as Thumbelina in Select Sound. Select also includes a quartet which consists of Maddie Bloom, Cora Stratton, Olivia Haggard, and JC Perles. Senior Kaylee Haney was no stranger to the excitement and emotional nature of seeing your name on the list of soloists.
I cried. I was not expecting it. I definitely didn't think that they would ever pick me, so I just broke out into tears. I didn't know what to do.
As much as the show choirs spend constantly practicing for their shows, they still manage to keep a close bond with one another.
We're just a big whole family, in a sense, and like everyone's always there for each other, even if you barely know each other.
I love show choir because it gives me an opportunity to do something I love with the people I love.
It's a family in the sense that, you know, you really get to know people in a real different way than just like a normal school day.
It is a family, and it is a group that has your back in every moment, and then you'll have those connections that you make with like Mrs. Duran and Mr. Smead that will just make everything better, because then you know you have a trusted adult there.
We've experienced things together kind of like a family would, and it's just really a neat experience to be that connected with a group of people and to have people that are constantly there for you.
Every Thursday night at 7, you can attend a free preview for the show choirs in the large auditorium. For Studio 415, I'm Emily Voight.
With new problems and issues occurring, fixes and innovation are needed to solve everyday problems. There is a group of students at CHS who have accepted this challenge.
Carroll's very own Nanoline engineering team has been coming up with efficient solutions for these problems. In my story, I got to take a more in-depth look at the team and their projects and the progress this year.
The after-school activity kicked off for the group of 4 back in their 7th grade year. The group was approached by CMS staff member Mr. Miller. He pitched the idea to the group of students, and they took it and ran with it. Each project starts with an industrial controller, or the brains behind the project. The members are able to program the controller to do about anything they want. After last year's innovation of a retrofit wheelchair, the group was looking to take on something bigger and better this year. What they came up with was the Latte Lotus, or an all-in-one smart shower for the handicapped and disabled.
The shower has multiple shower heads in different positions, and it automatically showers the person with just the simple touch of a button.
With the shower including over 6 shower heads, automatically dispense soap, a speaker, and a tablet programmed by the students themselves, this is the most ambitious project they have created. CHS student Nick Couch explains the team gathers after school from Monday to Thursday working on the shower for a few hours each day. The activity is overseen by Miss KAMLER, who has overseen the project since the very beginning. She sees how the Nanoline engineering will benefit these 4 later down the road, as she believes this club helps develop skills in STEM skills, wiring, plumbing, programming, and entrepreneur skills.
They're also responsible for fundraising and interacting with people in the community and really developing their project as though it were a real product that we're going to market.
The 4 all agreed the project has helped them discover what they want to do and gives them the experience they need. MALACHI KAMLER explains how the opportunity has helped him discover what he wants to do.
Yeah, actually, I have been looking into industrial wiring careers and figuring out how that would work in the future.
After a good finish at regionals at Purdue, the team has qualified once again for nationals for the 3rd straight year in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and their goals are higher than ever.
If you or anyone you know is interested in this activity, contact Ms. KAMLER or any of the active members of the group. For Studio 415, I'm Desmond McNeely. From a day in the classroom to a mat after school, these individuals give 100% to the sport they love every single day.
Studio 415 reporter Calvin Cornett joins us in the studio to tell us more about this stout wrestling team.
I had the opportunity to get in depth with one of the best wrestling teams in the state and find out where they get their drive. Here's their story.
Carroll Wrestling Team has had one of the most dominant teams across the area in the past several years, with several wrestlers going to wrestle in college and pursue it as a career. The team is led by head coach Tim Sofer, who is a very well-respected coach in the area. Sofer year in and year out prepares his kids to the best of his ability to make sure they are ready for a deep postseason run.
Sure, we've had a great season. In dual meets, we're 20 wins, 1 loss, so 20-1 on the season in dual meets. We went to a couple of tournaments. We placed first as a team at the New Haven Invitational and first as a team at the Wild Bill Concordia Invitational as well.
Typically, a lot of people don't view wrestling as a demanding or challenging sport to do. However, those critics would be wrong. For this sport, you have to have a certain kind of stamina all season long to keep you going. With tournaments every weekend from when the season started in November to now in February when the postseason is in full swing. Senior Ethan Hicks has had this type of drive all 4 years wrestling here at Carroll.
You have to have like a gas tank, like you can't be out of shape, and also your muscles like have to be conditioned. It's kind of weird, like it's a lot different from like being able to run far or anything like that. You have to, it's like muscular endurance because you're just in there for 6 minutes, just like constantly like moving and like moving your, like getting pushed around the whole time, and it just like, you just gotta get prepared for that.
Like every sport in high school, it has to come to an end. For Hicks, these past 4 years have been very successful. But he does have his mind set on one thing and one thing only.
Yeah, I have a goal to, of course, I want to make it to state again this year, and I want to make it on that podium as high as I can get, pretty much, at Banker's Life.
The Chargers have won 9 consecutive sectional championships and have won 7 consecutive regional championships and are sending 9 wrestlers to semi-state this weekend. For Studio 415, I'm Calvin Cornett.
Cold, snowy winter days make it hard for skateboarders to participate in their sport.
This Fort Wayne indoor gives the skaters a chance to get there inside and ride. Studio 415 reporter Shelby Altman checked out the scene and brings us the story.
Fort Wayne Indoor is celebrating their 5th year reopening thanks to Rich Hoppy donating his time to the extreme sports scene of Fort Wayne, Indiana.
We don't make any money, so we're 5 years deep of not making any money. So that causes some stress, but at the same time, it makes me feel good that I'm able to give back so that everyone has a place to go to. So money isn't everything.
The Fort Wayne Indoor wants to have a safe and legal environment for skaters and other sports alike. New or old at the sport, everyone is welcome to come and level up their skills. Timothy O'Keefe believes that the Fort Wayne Indoor is a safe environment for young skaters like himself.
Yeah, it's a really safe place here.
The Fort Wayne Indoor is only open for half the year. When they are not open, they host community events during the summer. They work with the Fort Wayne Parks Department to host some events downtown like an open street event, an art show, and a skate event at the Clyde Theater. They do this to help local companies in the area. During the winter months while they are open, the Fort Wayne Indoor has a BMX competition, a skateboarding competition, an all-night event, bands, and frisbee golf. At the beginning of the year, the Fort Wayne Indoor had times for BMX to ride alone and skateboarders to ride alone. But with the low attendance numbers, they had to change the time so whenever they are open, anyone is allowed to come and ride. Rich Hoppy and his friends has big plans for the future. But to achieve these goals, the attendance numbers need to rise. They want to move to a bigger building to add more sports.
Like rock climbing, add a mountain biking component, make it a little more family friendly so that more people could use the facility, which we're working on that right now. We're actually looking at another building right now, and next year we might be in another building, so possibly, who knows.
Get your bike and get your helmets, and let's head down to the Fort Wayne Indoor. For Studio 415, I'm Shelby Altman.
That's all we have for today. Thanks for watching.
If there's any story you'd like covered, please tell Mr. Johnston.
If there is an event you would like covered, please tell us in advance.
For all of us here at Studio 415, have a great week, Carol.
Sunny days and friendly smiles, walk the halls with me. Studio 415. Watch the news unfold. Never a dull moment. Students today create our future. Come and join the fun. Students